let's get started. Today's session, which is automating constituent records in your CRM, both from Almabase as well as from PaperSave. So let's quickly take a look at our agenda for today. We're going to start with how Almabase connects its donors back to your CRM, how PaperSave does it, gift processing on PaperSave, and then finally we'll open up to a Q&A session towards the end of this webinar. Uh, Introductions. My name is Vishnu, and I work at Almabase as a solutions consultant. I've been part of the Almabase team for a little over 3 years now. I started off as a customer success associate and then had the opportunity to transition to the role of a solutions consultant. I'm going to pass it on to my lovely co-host, Julio Perez.
Thank you, Vishnu. So my name is Julio Perez. I'm a senior sales engineer here at PairSoft. Been with the organization going on about 18 years now. Um, you know, most of my time has been through implementation, support, and now sales. So I got a quite a vast expertise of implementation and anything related to Blackbaud and donor management.
Amazing. All right, so let's get started with our session for today. I'm going to give you guys a quick introduction about what Almabase is and how Almabase can help with your engagement and your donor needs. So starting with Almabase's history, we've been around for 10 years now. We work with a lot of institutions, both in higher ed as well as in K-12, and we've recently opened up to healthcare markets. Our mission for Almabase is, or the way Almabase started off is to make sure that education is affordable to folks and making sure that scholarships were achievable for most students out there. And that's the whole idea behind getting Almabase and getting donors to donate towards the scholarships that fund student education. A couple of years back, Almabase started our strategic partnership with the fine folks over at Blackbaud, and because of that, because of that partnership, we've been able to build a seamless integration between Almabase and your Racist Edge NXT database. So what is Almabase? Almabase is a one-stop shop solution for all of your engagement needs, starting from creating programs for your alumni to look up other alumni and connect with them using a user directory, sign up for events, and make donations through the platform. So it's a place where you can do all of your engagement needs. Now, quickly jumping into the connected donor journey, the whole process of connecting donors and making them, stewarding them, and retaining them as donors can be done through the Alma-based platform. So the first part of it is to engage and convert folks from non-donors to getting them to be potential donors. And the way you do it is to see who is engaging with the programs that you're putting out there. See who's opening your emails, who's registering for the events that you're setting up, who's donating to the crowdfunding campaigns, and such. And that is how you would build your relationship with potential donors on the platform. The next step is to thank and steward them. So basically, if they make their first donation, you send them acknowledgements, you send them their thank you emails, and begin your donor stewardship. Once you get details about new donors, you need to get that data back into your database so that you can build off of that data. And then finally, you retain and grow those donors into major donors within your pool of constituents. Now, how Almabase does this is through the Almabase platform. You do have a digital engagement platform where you have your alumni directory, you have your communities and chapters, you have your mentorship program. So there's different parts of the platform within the digital engagement platform where you're getting new constituent information and you're seeing a lot of engagement from your constituents. Then comes the event management tool where you host events, both online and offline events for your constituents. And your constituents, while making their registrations, also have the option to make donations through the platform. And finally, based off of all of these engagement that you're gathering through Almabase, you can also send out your fundraising solicitations to those engaged group of alumni or constituents on the platform. And the way we integrate with back to Racer's Edge NXT is something called our TrueSync, which I'm going to demo as soon as my presentation is done. And quickly jumping into the integration for anybody who is a non-RENXT user. If you use any other databases out there, we also have an SFTP integration where if you use something like Salesforce or any other CRMs out there, you get the data file with all of the updated information that you're collecting on the Almabase platform in the format that you would require to upload it back into Salesforce at a cadence that you would set up. So you can set up an SFTP server where all that data is being delivered to you, and you would just need to take that export sheet and upload it into your database to get all of that updated information back into your system. So that is how we do it for any non-RENXT folks. But today's demo is going to be focused on getting data from Almabase back into Racer's Edge NXT. And I'm going to quickly get my screen pulled up here. Um, I hope everybody can see my screen. So this is the backend of Almabase. And as you can see, there's an activity report, there's a donor pipeline report that basically buckets your constituents into four groups, which is unresponsive, engaged, potential donors, and your actual donors. The potential donors is automatically built up by the system based off of different engagement touch points that's being captured on the backend. But getting to the integration aspect of things, the first part of Almabase's integration with Racer's Edge NXT is how you would set up rules that govern data flow between your Almabase environment and your Racer's Edge NXT environment. So this is where you're going to be initially connecting your Almabase account to your Racer's Edge environment. And you will be able to select all of the different fields that you'd like to bring in from Racer's Edge. It doesn't have to be everything being brought into Almabase. You can pick and choose the ones that you want to bring in and the ones that you don't want on the Almabase platform. But once that data has been pulled into Almabase, you as an admin will be able to set up rules that govern data flow between the two systems. So at a global level, you'll be able to tell the system when a new record is created on Almabase, does it automatically create a new constituent on NXT, or is it flagged for review so that an admin can take a look at that information and then create a constituent within your system? And not just at a global level, you can go into individual field by field and specify what rules apply for them. So maybe things like address and emails and phone numbers needs to be reviewed before it goes in, but something like dietary preference or marital status can just automatically update as the constituents are updating that information on the Alma-based platform. So going into the address field here, you have the option to set up the rules that are specific to the address field. And this is a bi-directional sync. So data can flow from Almabase to NXT and from NXT into Almabase. We generally see our partner institutions set up the rules such that when data is flowing from Almabase to NXT, it's usually set to review before updating. And when it's from NXT into Almabase, it's usually set to create automatically. So that even if you were to update somebody's email address or phone number on the NXT side, that can automatically pull into Almabase and update their corresponding profile here within the Almabase platform. And for any data point that you choose to review before you push them into NXT, that's going to land here within the data inbox based off of what field was updated by the constituent. So going back to that same example, let's say John here gave you a new address by maybe logging into their profile and updating their address on their profile, or maybe while making a donation or a registration on the registration form, they fill in a new address that you don't have on them. The new information that John provides here on the Alma-based platform shows up on the left side, and any current values that John has on his constituent record on Racer's Edge will show up here on the right side. So somebody who is doing a review of this information can do a side-by-side comparison of the new information they're collecting on Almabase with what's already there on Racer's Edge NXT. And with the click of a button, you have the opportunity to move all that information into NXT onto John's constituent record. There's a few other functionalities. If we dive deeper, you do have the option to edit any information. Maybe John forgot to add a space. You have the option to edit any of that information before it updates on NXT. You also have the option to set up transformations. If you have certain ways in which you store information on NXT, you can convert the data that the constituent has entered into the data that you'd like to be stored within NXT. So that is how we move our constituent information between the two systems. There's also one functionality that pulls data from NXT into Almabase, where you can use a query that you've built or a list that you've built on Racer's Edge and use that list or query here within the Alma-based platform. Either, let's say there is a new graduating batch and you want to pull them in, either for that or to send out emails through the platform, you can use a query that you've built on the Racer Edge site. So that is how we move any new constituent information that we're collecting on Alma-based, especially with respect to your donation forms. Folks enter new email addresses, phone numbers, and address information that you'd like to eventually have updated on their constituent record. And this provides you a seamless way in which you can connect the information you're collecting on Almabase back into the constituents record on NXT. Now, quickly jumping into our giving side of things, how does donations that you process through the Alma-based platform go back into Racer's Edge? So that's going to happen from our gift dashboard right here. So think of the gift dashboard as a 360-degree view that you have across all of the giving campaigns that you're running on Almabase. And you have different ways in which you can group them into a payment batch within NXT. You can either group them based off of the page somebody donated to. Maybe you have a giving day going on and you want all of the gifts that come in for the giving day to go into one single gift batch. You have the option to create that page right here and apply that filter to group those gifts together. Or you can do it based off of the fund that a donor has chosen to donate towards. Or some of our other partner institutions also use the date range filter, where all of the donations they receive in a particular day can go back into Racer's Edge NXT into a single payment batch. So that is how you would group those gifts together. But once you have a group together, what you need to do is create what we call a gift list on Almabase. So I've already set up a gift list here that we can take a look at by syncing it into NXT. And as you can see here, there's 10 different gifts within this gift list, and the sync status for this gift list is at 0% complete right now. Now, one of the things that I like to highlight here is the mapping status. So mapping ensures that the donations that you receive through Almabase are connected to the right record when it goes back into NXT. Almabase does have auto mapping functionality, where if the donor uses the same email address that's there on their constituent record to make their donation, the system can automatically map that donation to the right constituent record. But what happens when somebody does not use the same email address that's there on their record, or somebody who does not have a constituent record makes a donation through Almabase? In such cases, the donations are going to show up within the system as unmapped, and you as an admin will be able to map this to the right record within your system. The system can surface recommendations based off of information that the donor has filled out on the donation form. So if there's a match on the phone number or the address they're filling out, the system can surface those records as recommendations here. Or if you know that the constituent has a record, you can also find the constituent on Racer's Edge instead, where you're simply using their name or email address to do a quick search through your database and map the donation to the right record within your system. And finally, if it's a new constituent making a donation, you can also use the add a new record button that adds a new record to Almabase, and that can translate back into Racer's Edge as a new constituent record once somebody from your team reviews that information. So right now, we've got a gift list with 10 different gifts. All of them have been mapped to the right record. So let's go ahead and start syncing these gifts into NXT. So starting with the sync gift data button, a side window opens where you have the option to either add these gifts into an existing batch within NXT, or if you'd like to create a new batch altogether, you do have that option as well, but you would need to give that batch a name. I'm just going to give this a batch a random name. You can also assign any attributes that are available within NXT. So anything like appeal, package, campaign, gift type, subtype, payment method, receipt status, etc. Any of these default attributes, as well as any custom attributes that are available within NXT, will be available here on the Alma-based platform as well. And the best part about having these two systems integrated together is that any appeals that you've already set up on NXT will be available here as a drop-down list. So this list that you're seeing is directly being fed in from Racer's Edge, and you just need to assign the right appeal code to these payments that you're syncing from Almabase into NXT. So now that we've named our gift batch, let's go ahead and start sync. So at this point, the system is going to move these 10 gifts into a gift batch within NXT. So let's just give that a couple of seconds. It shouldn't take long for the system to sync 10 gifts. As there are more gifts, it might take a bit more time, but none of these gifts should take more than half an hour. Uh, Depending on the number of gifts, it shouldn't take all that long to create the gift batch on NXT. And as you can see here, the gift batch has been created and you can see the sync is now complete. So if we jump into NXT and head to our gift batch entry, we should have our gift batch that we just created. So right here, if we search for our gift batch, we can see the gift batch that we just created on Almabase. It shows up with a batch status of unapproved, so that somebody from your admin team or your database manager can review that information, do financial reconciliation, and then approve and commit these batches into database. You can also see that each of these donations are assigned to the right constituent, and all of the details about the gift itself shows up within the gift batch. So that is how we move any gifts that you receive through the Alma-based platform onto Racer's Edge. There's also other functionality with respect to the integration with our events platform. Since Alma-based is going to be where folks come in and register for your events, you would need to set up the event on the Alma-based side. So taking that into consideration, it doesn't make sense for you guys to do all of that event setup again on Racer's Edge NXT. And because of that, we've built an integration where any event that you're setting up on Almabase can just automatically sync into NXT and create the event record itself, move all of the registrations that you received, as well as any payments that you collect as part of your events. Now, one of the things that I'd like to highlight on these demos is usually there is a tile that you can add onto your Racer's Edge environment. So as an example, this is my constituent record on our NXT instance. And you have the option to add a tile that says engagement history by Almabase that tracks all of the engagement of a constituent on the Almabase platform right on their constituent record. So with regards to any communication that goes through Almabase, what's the average open rate, average click-through rate, what was the last email that they opened, the last link they clicked within an email. For events, the total events they registered for, the last event they registered for, any feedback that they provide as part of their registration, all that is captured here within the engagement tile. And you can see there are individual engagement activities at the bottom as well, whether they've made a gift, whether they've registered for an event, opened an email, all that information is shown here on the app-based engagement tile. The idea of this tile is that, let's say you're going to meet a donor in person and you want to identify how they've been engaging with all of the programs that you've been putting out through your engagement platform. This is how you can see how they've been engaging and strike up that conversation. Now, for any emails that are sent out through the platform, we can also think back any click-throughs or opens that constituents make for those emails as actions back into NXT so that your team can use those data touch points to build queries and use that data points within Racer's Edge NXT. So that is quickly at a high level how Almabase can move the constituent information between Almabase and NXT, as well as any donations that you process through the Almabase platform. Please, if you all have any questions about the whole process or anything anything about what you've already seen on this webinar, please feel free to ask those questions on the chat. And with that, I'm gonna stop my part of it and I'm gonna pass it on to my co-host, Julio. Over to you, man.
Thank you so much. That was great. Perfect. At this point, you should be able to see my screen.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Right. So that was the donors management side of things. What we're going to talk to on now is the donation management of the house, right? So we're going to introduce you to PaperSave. So PairSoft's PaperSave is a natively integrated donation automation solutions with centralized document management and up to 100% document OCR accuracy. Basically, PaperSave sits within Razor's Edge as a native window and allows you to not only document management, but also use workflows to create badges in the system, as we'll show you. Now, PaperSafe has been in the Blackbaud space for over 20 years, so a lot of what you'll see here has that Blackbaud look and feel, and it's the only application that is out of the box integrated solution to the Blackbaud products. So PaperSafe does indexing. So again, as a document and central repository for your documents, you're going to be able to create multiple different repositories within the system so that you can better organize your documents, right? This is a native integration inside of Razor's Edge. So you're going to be able to open up an action, appeal, campaign, a constituent, events, gifts, funds, opportunities, and add documents directly into those records just for your normal day-to-day document management, and actually documents that you'll be able to share internally and externally as needed. Step-by-step process of the gift processing. So many different ways to capture gifts and bring those gifts into PaperSafe, right? It really all depends on how those contributions are coming in-house. We do support local scanners. We use that in the form of what we call Scan Now, right? Scan Now is a direct connection between a local scanner and your computer, right? The only requirements for PaperSafe there is that we require Twain drivers. So as long as that machine or that scanner supports Twain drivers, is going to be a plug and play deal with PaperSafe. So you can load up your scanner, click on a Scan Now button, and all of those documents flow right into the system, whether you're adding documents to a record for document management, or whether you're going to add documents to a gift processing workflow, which we'll show you here in just a second. Electronic submissions is something that our clients enjoy quite often. Um, the vision around electronic submission is in the event that you're maybe participating in lockboxes, right? PaperSafe does support lockbox, and we can work with lockbox files in multiple different ways. One of those is ingesting that raw lockbox file, right? It's going to be a large PDF with a bunch of GIFs and a bunch of documents there supporting that contribution. You can grab that large PDF, drop that into PaperSafe, and we're going to be able to separate that stack of documents for you. Um, in some instances, worth mentioning, we have worked with some lockbox providers, and they're able to submit batches directly into PaperSafe. And PaperSafe, what we will do with that batch is send out a notification to a gift processor to let them know that there's works for them to do in the system, right? So there's ways for us to automate as much of the process as you would want us to, right? Attach a file. If it's a virtual file somewhere in the environment, you can attach a file. And also we do have the ability to monitor emails, right? So it's another one of those ways where we've worked with lockbox providers. If they're able to send you a file into an email, PaperSafe can connect into an email. We're able to grab those files right from within that email and bring that right into your workflow for you so that we can start that batch creation process. Now, this is a very important one, right? We want to make sure that your donor's information is kept safe, that your organization as a whole is kept safe as well, right? So PaperSafe does offer redaction, right? And we actually offer redaction a couple of different ways. One, automatic. So as your contributions are being scanned in and being brought in into the system, however they're being brought in into the system, PaperSafe can actually redact those bank and routing informations right from the check, right? In essence, making sure that your donor's information and then your organization is being kept as secure as possible, right? Second is you also have redaction as part of annotations, as I'll show you here in just a second. You can use redaction as part of annotations and redact information ad hoc if you need it to, right? So we can always have automatic redaction configured, but you will also have that capability of using redaction as part of annotations so that you can make your mark on the document as search capabilities. So once you're storing documents into the system, you're going to need access to these documents, right? So PaperSafe has a very capable search. It works in two ways. We have what we call simple search and advanced search. The neat thing about both of these search options is that it actually searches the content of the document. So if you want to look for something that is actually written on one of these donations, right? You can actually type that into the search bar, and PaperSafe will look at every single document and pull documents that match that criteria. But we're also able to do advanced searching, right? And this is where PaperSafe offers you a way to build yourself a query inside of PaperSafe that allows you to build a search based on some requirements, right? Very good for auditing, very good for reporting purposes. If you have an auditor come in-house, they're going to ask you to produce maybe a batch of a certain time period, a batch dealing with a certain fund. In a second here, I'll show you where PaperSafe can leverage all of that metadata that we have access to as a native integration inside of Blackbaud, so that you can search and create very, very robust queries in PaperSafe to pull all of that data for auditing or for reporting purposes. Now, workflows, that is what PaperSafe uses to automate that business process for you, right? So whether you're just wanting to add a bunch of gift agreements to multiple different constituents, whether you want PaperSafe to actually help you in the batch creation and create batches for you inside of our NXT, our workflows are very flexible, right? What we do within those workflows is entirely up to us, but we can have as simple as of a workflow that just allows you to send copies of documents into records, or we can build a fully automated workflow that actually reads data right off of these documents that you're putting into the environment, helps you code a batch, and also helps you create a batch inside of the workflow, right? So ultimately, that is what we will be walking through here today. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up PaperSafe. All right. So if this is the first time you're seeing PaperSafe, welcome. Right. So this is what PaperSafe looks like. As again, as I mentioned, has that native look and feel of Blackbaud, right? Based on all of our years of partnership. So what we're going to be diving into is that workflow capability first. So we click on workflows. That takes us right into what our gift processing team would be in, and when it's time for them to process a batch. If I click on add, this is that add document window options, right? So this is where you can use your local scanner. You have a check scanner. You want to bring in some virtual files that you have in the environment already. This is where you can navigate to where you're storing those lockbox files and bring those all into the system, right? Now, normally just note that most of the time you don't see these screens because we tend to automate everything that you see here, but I want you to see our OCR in process and in action, and I want you to see where all of this data is being pulled from, right? So batch naming convention is entirely up to you. If you have a batch naming convention and numbering that you're currently using, we can continue to leverage that going forward. That's not an issue. But we do also support auto generations of batch naming, right? So basically what that does is that it looks into RENXT, it pulls today's date plus the next chronological batch order number that it is inside of RENXT. How PaperSafe codes your batch, right? We got a couple of different ways. One is that automation that I'll show you in just a second, but we also have capabilities for us to create templates, right? In the event that you're pre-sorting your batches and you are maybe running a campaign and all of these contributions happen to share that same code, you can create multiple different templates in PaperSafe with multiple different variations of your codes. And you can pick and choose which one you want to run your batches through. But what that does is it's just basically you're telling PaperSafe that, look, I don't need you to tell me what these codes are going to be for because I already know what they are. And you're pre-sorting your batches, and PaperSafe will just code that batch as you want them to be coded. All right. Now, as I'll show you here in just a second, PaperSafe can be a little bit more dynamic and read codes directly from the documents that you're putting into the system. So as your contributions are being scanned in, or maybe we're pulling them from your lockbox provider, or maybe they're being sent to an email, what happens is that we provide all of that data to our OCR engine, right? That is our optical character recognition. Really, what that means for us is that we have some functions in the system that is going to look at data off of these documents to help you populate as many of these fields, which we call profile fields, as we can. right? This is in efforts for us to help you with the coding of that batch. So OCR looks at the data on these documents, whether it's just a check or whether you're scanning in a check plus a reply device, right? PaperSafe is able to read and teach OCR to read from these reply devices. So we're actually able to read information from these scan lines or even checkboxes to help you with the coding of these GIFs as we're building batches for you. Right. So that's ultimately what our OCR engine does for us. And as you can see, these checks come in and we do that redaction for you automatically. Okay. Now, anything here that you see that has a magnifying glass, this is data being pulled directly from Blackbaud. Okay. So maybe this is not the right fund that you wanted to use. You can always back that out, enter a couple of letters of what you know that fund should be, and PaperSafe will offer up some suggestions based on the criteria that you typed on that field. You want to see a whole list of all of the funds you have available? Click on that magnifying glass and click on that search bar again. And now you get a whole list of all of the different funds that are open in the environment. And again, this all comes directly from Blackbaud. You maintain your constituent table, you maintain your funds, your appeals campaigns in Blackbaud, and PaperSafe is just able to reflect on that data in the system. Okay. Now, as these documents come in, we can be pulling this from an email, from a scanner, from Lockbox, just as I mentioned. So again, you don't normally get to see this, but this is where PaperSafe brings all of that automation into play, right? Because we're able to read data right from these documents to fill in all of these fields. And if you notice, these are the same fields that you're having to type up every time that you key in a gift inside of RE, right? So we're using our artificial intelligence and our capabilities to read from these documents to populate all of these fields so that your gift processor just has to look at that batch and say, yep, that looks correct. And they'll be able to submit that right into the system. And we'll do that together now. If I close out of here, ultimately, as I mentioned, this is what your gift processors will be in. This is what they'll be interacting with their batches. And PaperSafe does support multiple gift processors, right? So it's worth mentioning that it is unlimited users in PaperSafe, and a PaperSafe user does not need to be a Blackbaud user, right? So they're not tied to each other. They can be a user that is just reviewing items that they're being brought in into the systems, and they submit those as unapproved batches into RE, and then maybe management looks at that batch from within RE, right? It's a possible scenario there, right? We look at our batch, right? We got a way to look at the actual gift. You could just double click on that first row and it takes you right into that first line so that you can see that first record, right? On the top here, you have your document modification. So if you wanted to change, if you wanted to add additional pages to this, you can actually do that right from within PaperSafe. That's just in the event that maybe the constituent missed to send you that reply device or an acknowledgement letter or whatever it is that should have came with that check, right? You have the ability to modify that right from within PaperSafe. Left-hand corner, as I mentioned, you do have your manual redaction there, and you also have the capabilities to highlight and also add a note for someone if you want to add a note, right? So the vision here is now you have made your mark on your document, you have reviewed this gift and it looks like a gift that I'm ready to create into the system. And then all you have to do is click submit. When you click submit, you just basically told PaperSafe that, hey, this check is good to go. Go ahead and send that into Blackbaud and let's get that batch creation started, right? Now, there are multiple ways to do this. Users like to review them all because you do have toggles here and you can go to the next one, review, make sure that everything is accurate there and keep going, moving on to the next one and so forth. And once you've reviewed them all, you can select the whole batch and select and send that whole batch into Blackbaud, right? Just by clicking submit. Now you can have one batch, you can have two, you could have been working on 10 different batches and you've reviewed all of those batches all at once and you're ready to submit 10 individual batches inside of the system, all you'll have to do is select all of those items and click submit, and you'll be able to just to submit all of those batches at once in the system, right? Now, if we go into Blackbaud here, now all batches that get pushed into the system do come into Blackbaud as unapproved batches, right? Now we do control that, right? We can control how that batch is created into the system, whether you want it to be approved or unapproved. Having that on approval just gives you that one flexibility there. If you want to make any last minute changes to that batch, you'll be able to do so. But this is ultimately what PaperSafe sends into the system, right? That is that batch. So by the time that you click submit, and by the time that you go back into Blackbaud to look for that batch, it should already be there, right? Is a direct connection using the Blackbaud API. So when you click submit, we actually create that batch within matter of seconds, right? So in a normal case, within 30 to 45 seconds, your batch should already be in Blackbaud waiting for you to approve that batch, right? Click on that number, takes you to your batch. If you want to make any changes, this is where you would do so. If you don't make any changes, select and click approve. You're basically done with your gift processing side of the house, right? We're now able to push batches inside of Blackbaud and automate that process for you. Now, what is really neat, and I'll show you that next, is that not only did we create that batch for you inside of Blackbaud, but that document that we use to as a supporting document for that transaction is also associated to each one of those records, right? So ultimately, that's what I'll introduce you now. If you've never seen PaperSave inside of RE, PaperSave is just another native tile, right? So anytime that you add a document to any of those record types that I mentioned, whether it's actions, appeals, campaign, constituents, events, gifts, funds, opportunities, you're going to have a PaperSave tile that holds all of that data for you, right? You scroll back down here, you have your givens history, you click on that gift, and that'll take you right into that batch, right? And just like you saw that tile on the constituent level, again, you'll see that tile on the gift side of the house as well, right? So this is where PaperSave push that gift into the system, create that record for you, but we also added that document for support, right? You can double click on that link. That'll take you right back into PaperSave so that you can see that document firsthand. You'll still see that redaction. Bottom left corner, you have an audit trail, right? So it will tell you who that gift processor was and when did that gift was entered successfully inside of Blackbaud. This is actually audit trails that you can download out of PaperSave and give to an auditor or give to management if you need to report as to when this gift made it into the system, right? Now, I mentioned that we're able to do content search and we're able to do simple and advanced searches. Well, this is a good way to explain how that works. Content search, anything that you see here on the document, you'll be able to search by. Advanced search, anything that you see here on the right-hand side, all of these profile fields that we used to create those records inside of the environment for you, all of this metadata is usable for you, right? So you can now build yourself searches inside of the system to pull data out of PaperSave as needed, whether it's for reporting purposes or just for documentation needs, right? And that's what I'll show you next, right? So I'm going to go ahead and go back into our workflows here and take you back home to our home page. And again, we're not even in Blackbaud anymore, right? We are in PaperSave. So this is, again, where being a PaperSave user and not necessarily being a Blackbaud user is very helpful because you, again, can now fend for yourselves and not necessarily always have to go through the gift team to the donation team to get to those documents. If you have some details about what you're looking for, you can do some searches and look for that data as long as you've been given permissions in PaperSave, right? Click on search. When you click on search, simple is your first option, right? So simple is just you give me one value and we're going to search for that one value everywhere, right? So in this case, I can enter a batch number, I can enter a constituent name, a fund ID, a date, a dollar amount, or just again, any keyword that's on a document, right? You click on enter, PaperSafe goes back into the database and pulls all of that data for you, right? Here, you can select, you can download all of that audit trail. You want a copy of the document, you can download those documents as well, or you can share them with your team members, right? You can email it, you can email a link or even copy a link and put that into Teams chat or Slack or whatever we use nowadays to communicate internally and just send those documents to whoever requested, right? Just note that whoever you send that link to must be a PaperSafe user and you must provide them access to view documents, right? Because we do have layers of security to make sure that your data is kept safe. Lastly, advanced search. So this is where we can use our search capabilities to report, right? Here, we can do and or filtering. And when you click on that plus sign and add a condition, these are all of those same profile fields, right? So those same profile fields that we're able to use for document management, that we're able to use for your workflows, you're now able to search using that data, right? So a quick and dirty search would be, say, gift date is less than today, and I can go ahead and add gift date again, and I can say gift date is greater than the beginning of the year, and maybe I want to see items that are greater than $300, for example, right? You click on search, PaperSafe uses that criteria to go back into the database and pull all documents that meet that criteria, right? And that is just some examples, because if you wanted to use a fund ID, if you wanted to use a gift processor, if you wanted to use any of that data that PaperSafe is capturing, you're able to do so to bring all of that document to light and be able to report against it, right? Now, you want to report against this data, again, you can select, you have your share options, your download options, your download audit trail. But lastly, you do have this export to Excel, which is actually in every window that you can see a document, you have the ability to export to Excel. What I really like about that is, again, if you're thinking about reporting purposes, you now have a way for you to send an Excel to a team member with a list of items that you are being asked for or that they've requested, right? Here, if you click on enable editing, you scroll to the right, you see all of that code. You see the donations. You see the gift processor that entered that batch. You see all of that good information that you can search by. But let's say, hey, I want to see the document for line item 13, for example. All I got to do is click on that hyperlink right from within Excel, and that will take me right back into PaperSafe. It will open up a tab so that you can see those documents firsthand, see all of that metadata that PaperSafe captured, see the audit trail, right? So whatever that case may be, you will always have access to that data.